Invited to the fourth TUC, Technical User Community meeting of the LDBC project. Welcome to Amsterdam. I'm Peter Boncz. Right, so I will kick off the meeting by giving you a very short introduction of what LDBC is and what the purpose of this meeting is. I will try to stick to schedule, so make it very short. Short word of order. This is the Wi-Fi. There is, for those interested in seeing actually the TUC wiki, which is on ldbc.eu port 1819, a feature which I have tried to disable for a long time and many times. Regrettably, currently the CWI guest Wi-Fi network restricts to see that. So if you are on Aileron, you don't have that problem. But if you're on CWI guest, you cannot reach our wiki, but it's being fixed. So I've asked the network administrators to open port 1819, and hopefully they will do so soon. But that actually means that you cannot see the agenda, detailed agenda, if you're not on Aileron right now.
You can VPN to your...
You can VPN, yes, you can do that. But apologies for that slight inconvenience, but it's being worked on right now. We didn't realize that. Okay, so I will shortly talk about what the LDBC is. So what do we want to do? We want to work on benchmarking for graph and RDF data management technology. I should say data management, really database, because it's quite general, the scope of technologies that we are interested in. And help them become more credible and widely adopted in the IT industry as a whole. Currently, graph data management is up and coming and it's kind of a hype, but it's not mature. And we think benchmarking can help, and also by doing this benchmarking work, we hope that we can stimulate technical advances, so to make products better by exposing problems in benchmarking. And in databases, the well-known example for this is the TPC. TPC has focused the attention of the relational vendors on specific areas such as your old PCC benchmark, and they have also made it possible, competition possible that led to lots of increases over the past year. So LDBC, that's the mission. So LDBC is a project, it's an EU project, FP7 project. Originally it's only a short project. We are now 1.5 years into it, and there's 1 more year to go. But LDBC is not intended to just remain a European project. It's intended to stand on its own legs at the end of the project. So this is an industry council, a bit like TPC, but in this smaller and less mature market, that will be supported by industry members. And the European project also already has industry members from the EU, but the LDBC is open. It's actually also bootstrapping this organization. It's open to membership from other companies as well. So I think this year we'll also see that happening. So these are, we've got in Europe, Neo and Sparsity. It's actually the logo is not there, Sparsity, which are 2 graph database companies, and Autotext and OpenLink, which are 2 RDF data management companies. Right, so we want to make sure that this organization can really stand on its own legs at the end of the project, so it becomes strong and will continue to operate. And the other goal of this project is to kickstart it by developing benchmarks, so that the LDBC has an initial set of benchmarks that people can actually use and provide useful information about RDF data management technologies to the wider public. Hi, Andre. So, LDBC benchmarks are designed by task forces, which are kind of committees. They gather requirements and then develop these benchmark specifications and implementations. And the people who are doing this are in this room. So the people who are in the LDBC consortium, many of them are involved in one task force or the other. And gathering requirements and feedback is one of the goals of this meeting, Technical User Community meeting. So LDBC is interested in RDF and graph data management systems. What kind of systems? Well, for instance, RDF stores, graph database systems like Neo4j, but also we are also interested in graph programming frameworks, which are not really database systems, but systems that allow you to execute graph algorithms in a cluster. For instance, Giraffe or Greenmal. But we are even interested in any solution that people would apply to graph data management. So that could also be in relational database systems. Also the scope is quite wide. Transactions, so short queries, many queries at the same time, business intelligence, which is more complex, analytical queries, grouping billions of things, detecting trends, graph analytics, which is more algorithmic, but also complex RDF workloads, because RDF is a specific kind of graph data management system we consider. RDF has its own challenges or its own features like reasoning and data integration that we would like to test. Okay, so the organization of the LDBC, well, there is a board of directors, but most importantly currently are the task forces, which are these committees who develop benchmarks. There are two of them active, so there's the semantic publishing benchmark and the social network benchmark. Next up will be a talk about that, so the status of that benchmark. Actually, these are three benchmarks, which will be explained to you. And besides these task forces, these kinds of meetings, so technical user community of LDBC uses the fact that we have industry members, they have customers, and we try to learn from the customer stories and get feedback from customers. How are they using technology to solve RDF and graph data problems? And that's what we are here for today. You guys are pretty technical, so you know what graph and RDF data management is all about. But there is also this wider community of people who still may not be using RDF and graph data management technology, the IT community at large. Also an important community, we would like people to know about LDBC, to know that it exists, to be able to compare it, to say, okay, I've got this problem, it resembles this benchmark, so what are my technical options? Maybe I should think of using a graph data management system. That's what we want to do. So this year, which is the last year of the project, we are also going to focus, which we haven't done before, on actually addressing people who are not yet into this area, trying to engage them. For that, it's good that we will have some results. So we are about to release these benchmarks. Well, I said already there are two task forces active. One is the semantic publishing one, STB. So this is patterned after the BBC use case. So BBC is one of the pioneers of semantic publishing and was so gracious to give us all their ontologies, data, and this is the basis of one of the benchmarks. And the other one is the social network benchmark, which is loosely patterned after kind of Facebook data. So if you talk about graphs, social networks are a very popular, common kind of graph that people are interested in. We see many use cases in previous TUCs in marketing, people who acquire, for instance, subsets of Twitter and then try to use that for marketing. So this is real, and it is one of the interesting use cases of graph data management technologies, and the social network benchmark is focusing on that. But I will not go into details. So I'll just close actually. So LDBC is in its last year now. We are here in the technical user community. What is important actually is for us is to get input, use case challenges, but also get feedback on what we've been doing so far. And we are about to reach a stage we can really tell what we have been doing. We have actually released in November reports, you probably didn't read those, about the progress of the two task forces. But in a month or so, we expect to go to first draft with both of them. That means that not only specification but also software is ready and people can download it and really use it. It doesn't mean that these benchmarks are ready, but they are at a stage that we can share them and that we hope to get feedback on them. Because we think we are well underway, but the devil is in the detail. So what we still need to do is we really need to fine-tune the workloads in these benchmarks. Small differences can make huge impact actually on what the benchmark actually tests, what it rewards. So we made an initial cut, but it is very important to work in the next half year to refine that. So there will also be a publicity campaign, so you will see a new website originating from LDBC, LDBCcouncil.org website that targets the IT public, and we are aiming for taking 1.5 year, so in fall we want these draft benchmarks then to become official, with official results, initial results. And the LDBC EU project should then wrap up and kind of merge over into an industry supported organization by the end of the year. Okay, so now there are 2 task forces active, but that doesn't mean to say that that's the only thing that LDBC in its existence is going to do. No, I mean, it's a benchmarking organization that over its lifetime will develop even more benchmarks, not only those 2. So that's also one of the goals of meetings like these, to solicit ideas where we would go next. Okay? Specifically what we're interested in is looking into these graph programming frameworks as an area for future activity. Okay, so I'm done. This is the rough schedule, so I will now hand over to Robert. We'll talk about the progress of the social network benchmark, and then following that, there will be talks more focused towards graphing, the non-RDF graph database side of things, and graph programming frameworks.